Well, good morning, everyone. A lot of confusion trying some new stuff this morning, and just a lot of difficulty getting this video up. So very late this morning. I'd like to get these out earlier, but hey. So this morning, for our live video through the Bible in a year, I'd like to talk about Numbers 36. Numbers 36 is kind of an overlooked passage for many people. But in Numbers 36, we see I hate this name, Zelophehad's daughters come to Moses. And they are saying to Moses, hey, in all of the laws that we have for protection of people and descendants and their inheritance and all of that, those are great, but there's no clause made for us. You see, women are typically, in that society, they are typically under the care and protection of either their father or their husband. Well, these daughters, these women, had no husbands, and their father had died. And so they did not have the kind of protection that Israelite culture expected. It was expected that women, that women especially, would marry very young, somewhere around 12, 13. So the time frame of living, there was no real living on their own period for most women. Unless they were widowed, they were not expected to live on their own. And frankly, the rationale behind it is so that they wouldn't have to raise children on their own, because that would be torturous in that kind of society. But these women were not provided for. And Moses is sent to, or Moses is sent for to rule on their behalf, to say, hey, how should we, do we get land just because we're not married, just because our fathers died? Are we excluded from the people? And here we see the Bible, I think, at some of its best, because this is where the Bible pushes a little bit against the culture. We are so used to people saying, well, if the Bible was accurate, it would challenge the culture. And the reality is, the Bible challenges cultures all the time, and that's usually the reason why we don't accept it. Here, the Bible challenged the culture. It gave these women rights among the people. They had the right to property and to land among the people, land that was theirs and not simply their fathers or their husbands. So often we ask, we want the Bible to be very clear on issues that we care about. I hear it all the time that the Bible, what's the objection? The Bible could ban slavery or shellfish, and of course the Bible bans shellfish. The reality is, had the Bible come out strongly against slavery, nobody would have listened to God. That's how we are as people. Case in point, that very objection. If people wanted to listen, they would listen. It's the objections get in the way of the good stuff. We don't like to have our culture pushed back against, but here the Bible does. And that's an amazing thing. We don't give it enough credit for this pushback that changes society. I am somewhat familiar with the work of Tom Holland, who is a historian, and he is at pains, I don't think he's actually a Christian, but he is at pains to show, he takes pains to show how Christianity is the driving influencer of our modern cultural norms. And this is one of those areas where the Bible really transformed cultural norms. And we have to pay close attention to it. The problem is these little passages that kind of push back against culture are the ones that are marginalized. We like to highlight the ones that just go along with the flow of how we think, and then marginalize the ones that push on us. And so this passage was marginalized by a lot of people for a long time. Numbers 36 is not exactly one of those ones when you read, the books behind me, I don't know if you can read them, are the Church Fathers. It's a commentary series written by some of the earliest Christians. I dare say that if I pulled the Numbers commentary off of the shelf behind me, which I think I have, I dare say it's not going to have a lot in it about this passage, because some of the church fathers just marginalized it instead of highlighting it. And what we have to do as Christians is look at these passages that stand out. There are going to be passages that push us, and we have to, instead of just glossing over them, we have to push and ask and go, oh, what does that mean? And we might not come to an answer. It might be difficult, but we have to wrestle with the passage. And this is one of those passages that I wish people would have wrestled with centuries ago. To me, today, it's not such a big deal. It's not a huge issue. It's rather kind of a historical anomaly, and I can look at it and I can go, oh, this is where they missed the boat, because it doesn't impact my culture. But there are going to be passages, there are going to be chapters and verses, modern sensibilities, and I have to sit there and go, okay, what does this mean? And let me highlight it and ask questions about it, rather than just glossing over it and saying, oh, I don't understand it. Let's wrestle through the text and work through it, and be glad that it pushes on us. This is the Bible pushing consistently for what is right. And so we are very thankful that Zelophehad's daughters, I hate that name, Zelophehad's daughters stood up and asked for their rights from Moses, because it gives us a paradigm, a background to judge what is right and wrong on their behalf. And so I hope you have a great week. I'll see you back here hopefully sometime soon.